Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about some more advanced harvest crafts, including Augment, Remove, Add Remove, Reforge keeping prefixes or suffixes, and one bonus at the end. This video is going to provide a little bit of a tutorial and lead into some crafting guides that talk about specific items. So again, I'm going to talk about some theory and about how you can use the crafts, along with demonstrating how they work. So if you're interested in Harvest and looking for some examples of how to make things like a double influenced exploding chest or a +1/+1 gem amulet, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so that you can be notified when that video goes live. Now, in the first part of this video, I talked about a lot of different Reforges, but I said that Reforge a rare item keeping all prefixes or suffixes was a bit more complicated, and so I'd save it for the next video. So that's what I'm going to start this video off with. Here I have a Stygian Vise. Now you might be wondering, why do I have the increased flask effect duration crafted if I'm going to keep all the suffixes? That is because Reforge a rare item keeping all suffixes, or Reforge a rare item keeping all prefixes, only keeps existing modifiers. If I were to use this without the craft, the last suffix slot would be filled with a random modifier, because it's open and therefore not an actual thing. This also completely rerolls the item. So let's use one as a demonstration here. And remember, it will keep all the suffixes, including the crafted modifier. And now, it is the Dread Shackle. The name has changed because this process essentially applies a Chaos Orb to the item. And if we use another one, we have yet another name, the Beast Lash. Again, the suffixes remain unchanged, however, the prefixes have been randomized each time. There's many applications for Reforge keeping prefixes and Reforge keeping suffixes, and they do respect metamods, so if you want to get into some more advanced crafting, then that's another option. A craft that you'll often see introduced with the classic Exalted Orb icon is the Augment. What an Augment does is it adds a modifier to an item with a tag corresponding to whatever the Augment is. So in this case, a magic or rare item will gain a fire tag when the Augment is used. The best use of these is on items such as this Cluster Jewel, where there's an extremely limited amount of outcomes. So if I aug fire here, I got Smoking Remains. This was in fact one of 3 possible outcomes. I could have gotten Smoking Remains, which is unfortunately the worst option, Cremator, which is the okay option, and Burning Bright, which is by far the best option and most profitable. Because there are only 3 outcomes, it was very easy for me to predict what I'd be getting. Now, you can use this on random items, but if you're using it on, let's just say, a weapon. The problem with a weapon is there's so many outcomes, especially if it's a caster-tagged weapon. You could get flat damage to attacks. You could get % elemental damage. You could get damage to spells. Narrowing in on what you want to hit, or narrowing in on a cohesive item, is much harder when there's so many results. An extreme opposite of this would be something like a Hunter Amulet, where the only Chaos prefix is +1 to Chaos gems. So if you aug Chaos, you would always get +1 to Chaos gems. Of course, you can add mods, but you can also remove them. This works like an Orb of Augmentation, except it only targets mods of a specific tag. So, for example, this belt is quite good for an ES build. Maybe it's an attack-based ES build, maybe you put something like damage against chilled enemies, which is a Redeemer prefix. However, the resists are a little bit lacking, because there's 31.5 flat life regen per second, which is pretty mediocre. And so a good example of a way to use a remove is on an item that only has 1 mod of the tag it targets. So a good example of how you might want to use a remove craft is on an item that only has 1 mod that the craft can target. So here, I've removed life, and now the belt is improved. There was never any RNG, and there was no chance of bricking it. Moving on, next I'll talk about Remove Add, which basically takes the first 2 things and combines them and does them simultaneously. Another great harvest craft is Remove Random Whatever Tag Modifier. Add a new random modifier of the same tag. So you can kind of think of this as a combination of the 2 previous harvest crafts that I mentioned, where it is removing something associated with a tag, similar to the Annulment craft, but it is also adding something similar to the Augment craft. In this case, I'm going to use remove a random life modifier from an item, add a new random life modifier. Now in most cases, this is a little bit more RNG than a lot of the other types of crafting. The reason is, it's very rare that you can put on a crafted mod to be removed to be guaranteed a single outcome. And as a result, this step tends to be the most expensive, but it is also usually the final step in finishing a really top tier item, such as this Explodey chest with elevated Explodey and some other pretty good mods. So I use remove a random life modifier from an item and add a new life modifier because tier 7 life makes me sad. And in this case, I hit tier 2, which is pretty damn good. So I'm going to keep that as is and call this chest finished. And that's an example of what happens when you get lucky. You could easily go through this process 10 or even 20 times before hitting a good life roll, because again, it is random. And finally at the end, I promised a surprise bonus, which is the synthesize an item, giving it a random synthesized implicit. This is a very, very random craft. It's impossible to control for any sort of results that you want. Really, all you could do is throw it at a good base and hope for the best. So I have here a 6-link Imperial Bow with quality. It does not increase fizz damage. It instead grants 1% area of effect per 4% quality. And I synthesize it, and I got 2% increased damage per endurance charge. There's all sorts of random synthesis implicits you can hit off of these, and therefore it's very hit or miss. Some of them, like this one, pretty junk. If you hit something like enemies explode, you've got yourself a mirror. This is the exact opposite of most of the other crafts I've talked about today, where most of the others should be applied to get a desired result. This one's pure gambling. But hey, sometimes that's fun too. So I hope you found this harvest guide helpful. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about specific harvest crafts and crafting some popular items, such as a +1/+1 gems amulet, both for either a Toxic Rain or ED Contagion build, or something like a Bladefall Blade Blast build. And I'm also going to talk about how to make a double influenced Explodey chest. I'm going to go over those and take screenshots of each step of the way. Originally I was going to farm all the crafts myself, but I've realized that I don't have the patience for that, and if I try to farm all the crafts myself, the video might not be done by the end of a league, because I can only run Atoll so many times before I just actively hate the game. So my question to you is, how do you feel about harvest crafting? Do you plan to just sell your crafts on TFT, or do you think you'll experiment in making some items? I'd love to hear your thoughts and what items you plan to make down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And special thanks to all of my channel members who help support me so that I can continue to make videos just like this one. Your support really means a lot, and without it, I probably wouldn't be able to make videos of this regularly. If you want to help support the channel, click the membership button or the link down in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful and want to ask me a question in a more interactive setting, I stream at least once a week here on YouTube, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have relating to this video or any of my other videos. Thank you again, and I hope to see you on stream sometime. Have a great day.